Hey guys, everyone's favorite tank autist back at it again with another video. What you're about to see is all leftover footage from my World of Tanks sponsorship video. I genuinely was not intending to make this video. I just wanted to get in, play the game, do what I needed to do for the sponsorship, and get out. And then maybe return to the game later down the road for a Tank Enthusiast Reacts. Well, needless to say that when I booted up the game, there was a tank in front of me, and so I felt the need to comment on it. And then I commented on the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And next thing I knew, 3 hours had gone by, leading to this video, which is an impromptu episode of Tank Enthusiast Reacts, but I think a pretty good episode nonetheless. We cover a lot of ground. Also, just wanted to take this opportunity at the very beginning of the video to thank my patrons, because I always kind of forget to do that and have to throw it in at the end. So thank you so much to everyone who subscribes to the Patreon. You guys are genuinely invaluable. You have already contributed money to get me new cameras and new books for research. I mean, this kind of stuff, literally, I cannot make videos without these things. So thank you guys so much to all of you who donate to the Patreon. You make a difference. Your money actually helps me make better content. Or donate to me on my live streams, because I stream every Saturday, 5 p.m. EST. That being said, if you don't want to do any of that, just leave a like and subscribe and do all that fun YouTube stuff, and that also is just as valuable. So with all that out of the way, roll the intro. Hi! My name is Edit320, and I really like tanks. So much so, in fact, that I've decided to embark on a journey across the internet and gaming world alike to find some of the wackiest, coolest, and best made tanks in video games. I'll be looking at everything from the plausibly realistic to the downright insane. Oh no! This might be one of the most cursed, genuinely, vomit-inducing Sherman things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've seen some botched Shermans at this point. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, stick around and listen up, because this is a Tank Enthusiast Reacts to Tanks in Video Games. Alright, Mr. Ian McCullum, let's see what this no end to the detail to the tanks in this game is really all about. Quite helpfully, the game has already put me into the American tech tree, just by default. And we are initially greeted with the T1 Cunningham. I have not personally ever heard of this tank, but it looks very similar to what the United States was developing right after World War I, essentially, T1E1, both the medium tank T1, light tank T1. This looks a lot more like light tank T1 to me. Doesn't look like they have the medium tank T1 anywhere in here, but it's a somewhat important aspect of American tank development. They kind of go through the light tank development tract first before they start going with medium tanks, especially once Walter J. Christie comes into the picture. The United States goes really hard into lighter style vehicles. And then Harry Knox with VVSS suspension. There's the brief war between Christie's suspension and VVSS. VVSS wins, and we get the Stuart, the M2, all that fun stuff. Speaking of the the M2 light tank is here in this game with a very weird, it looks like some kind of squeeze bore muzzle device, but not at all. Unfortunately, I think for a lot of this weird experimental stuff, I'm not going to be able to confirm or deny whether or not a lot of it existed, but there will probably be annotation text throughout this screen that will give small history notes on what I find in the edits of this video on how accurate a lot of this stuff is. Yeah, we literally don't even have the 37 compatible turret. Oh yeah, so you put the tier 2 turret on it, and then you can get the 37mm gun, and then you get an M3 Stuart. Ah, I see, yes. That's kind of weird that you would go from the M3 Stuart to the T6 medium. That's kind of a huge leap. You completely skip the M2. And the M3 as well. God, there are honestly just so many. Whoa. What the scallop? I don't see the T4 anywhere around here, but I do see the T7, which is really cool. I'm actually very happy to see the T7 in this game, and it looks great. Actually, the model looks quite good. Even the little hooks underneath the fenders to hold the track links. This was the United States experimenting with convertible tanks. The idea of an armored car tank hybrid thing was very enticing, particularly to the American cavalry. So tanks, even after Christie's suspension was a no-go with the United States, they still continued to develop the idea of convertible tanks. where you can take the tracks off and run it on its wheels. And the T7 was one of those concepts. And then beyond the T7, the T4, which actually does end up getting emergency adopted in 1939 as the convertible medium tank M1, because that tank was also convertible. You could take the tracks off. Anyway, maybe we should just play the game. Whoa, Chaffee with a muzzle brake. Halt the presses. Chaffee with a muzzle brake. What happened here? What went wrong? Who did this? It's funny, I'm spending all the currency that this press account has given me to convert the tanks back to, like, their original canonical configurations. M2 medium tank, also, yep, big piece. M2 medium tank is essentially just an upscaling of the STUART. The Americans had, you know, gone through all this light tank development, combat car development, and they said, well, you know, we've got all these small light tanks, combat cars, etc. We need a medium tank that can do a job of supporting infantry, which is obviously what American tank doctrine really held closely at the time, and still did throughout World War II, but there's a tired argument about whether America thought that tanks were specifically for supporting infantry or whether they should be capable of fighting tanks. That's a rabbit hole that we don't have time to go down today. But yeah, T2 medium, the T5 actually was what it was in testing. Yeah, it ends up being basically the Americans saying, let's take the STUART form factor, almost, and just scale it up. Also the T3, the convertible medium tank T3, yep, these were also considered medium tanks by the infantry, but then they were combat cars by the cavalry, and it's just weird. This is way wrong. For a medium tank T3, this is way wrong. The gun looks not right, I don't believe. The turret, though, actually does look quite good. Surprised we don't have, can I do exterior? Let's see, inscriptions. Yeah, I'd really love to be able to put on the cavalry markings and the T3 medium inscription on here. That would be really cool. But and T6. Now this is cool. That barrel looks way too big. Is this a T6 with a 70 with a? Is this a T6 with a 105mm gun? It is. Yeah, boss man, I'm not so sure about that. I'm gonna be quite frank with you. Yeah, T6, experimental prototype Sherman. Literally, this was T6 becomes M4. Here's the thing with what World of Tanks does. The Sherman was designed so that this whole mantlet, I mean, you can see the bolts around the edges here. This was designed to be able to be taken. You could take this off and then insert the mantlet and the gun and the breech and everything for a 105mm cannon. That was the idea behind it. That's why they did it. That's why they designed it this way. So, theoretically, could you have put a 105mm cannon onto a T6? I guess, yes, theoretically you could have done it. To my knowledge, that never did really happen. And this is good. This is a good Sherman. I would expect to see a one-piece transmission here, and I would expect the viewports to be gone. I would expect actually that we had switched to large hatches. These are still the small hatches. Okay, no, this is wrong. Sorry, this is wrong. This should have large hatches. This should have a one-piece transmission case. The idea here is obviously that what you're doing in the research tree, you're just slapping the new turret onto here. Although I do quite appreciate the fact that they have the real turret designations on here. Like this is actually, it's the D51072 turret. I don't recall, I'm pretty sure the T23 turret had a different designation. It was D8 something something. I know the 75mm turret was like the D5-808 or something like that. I'll put the numbers up on screen. But the turrets, we will say like the Sherman's 75mm turret, or the T23 turret is the common nickname for the one that houses the 76. But those turrets did have legitimate, like, part numbers, I should say. If you feel free to memorize them, you can. Not even I bothered to memorize them, but I should. Once again, we have the ability to put the 105 in here. That... Uh-oh, I'm having bad ideas right now. I don't think that's possible. Well, actually, I know it's not possible. This is not possible. You can't do this because you have the totally wrong mantlet. I suppose the turret would fit it. Like, the 105mm gun, I suppose, would fit in the 76mm turret. But the mantlet is where I have concerns, because your barrel is thicker. Like, you can't just pop, like, that barrel sleeve, I don't believe would just fit a 105. Which also means you can make... What? Oh, no!
Well, Mr. Funny Man, is this how you get your sick kicks?
What? It's just an ordinary crabby... Oh my goodness!
Oh, that makes me sick to my fucking stomach what they just did there. Okay, alright. Wow, that's insane. That's fucking crazy that they did that. Okay, hold on. I gotta explain what's going on here. What they've done here is they've taken the M34 gun mount, ripped off, like, the singular mantlet piece, and then somehow bodged on the 105mm mantlet. And you can see, like, you can tell it's clearly like two mantlets stacked on top of each other. I don't think this would be possible, because yeah, the mount for the coax MG on the M34 gun limit is right here, but then on the 105 you have this hole up here, so you can't line that up, so you lose your coax MG, and then yeah, your telescopic sight would go here, but the M34 gun mantlet does not support a telescopic sight. That's the whole reason why they went over to the M34A1, amongst other reasons. Yeah, this is just awful. This is just terrible. This is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. This is, weirdly enough, this might be one of the most cursed, genuinely, like, vomit-inducing Sherman things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've seen some botched Shermans at this point. That's fucking weird. Like, why not just replace the whole mantlet? Like, that's just crazy. Like, just put a 105mm turret onto an M4A1. Like, that doesn't seem like that would be that hard. And see, look, yeah, now that we have the correct gun and the correct mantlet and everything, now we have our coax MG. And yeah, the original Shermans did not have a telescopic coaxial aligned gunner's sight. The gunner just looked up through his periscope on the top. And those of you who may or may not know about the Sherman's periscope actually, it was a unique system as far as I know. There was a scope built into the periscope. So you looked into the periscope and your right eye was just naturally up against some kind of like scope thing. It was a by 3 optic, according to Ian McCullum. Chieftain says that sounds about right. There's a great video about all the guns and fire control systems on the Sherman tank by collaboration between Forgotten Weapons and the Chieftain. I highly recommend you check them out if you're interested in learning more about the Sherman, how it worked, what it was like to operate one, things like that. So yeah, originally the gunner just had the periscope on the roof and then his ×3 magnification aiming tube inside of his periscope, and that's how the gunner aimed the cannon. Especially in North Africa, it was very much stressed that we are shooting out to really long distances and we need something. As much as we love to talk about how perfect the Sherman was as a tank, when it first came out it had a lot of problems. Lack of loader's hatch, lack of a telescopic sight, dry ammo stowage, direct vision ports, the small hatches. But just like with everything else, every other problem the Sherman ever had, America was very quick to issue easy fix, quick fix instructions on how to field mod your M34 gun mantlet to accept a telescopic sight. And then once the M34A1 gun mantlet comes out, your telescopic sight hole and mount is all built in, so this solves that problem. But yeah, original Shermans did not have that. Yes, M4A2E4, yep. This is very much a real thing, unfortunately. It seems like they've decked it out as if it's seen service. And you can see now the M34A1 gun mantlet. You can see it's basically the same as the M34. You have this centerpiece at first, and then all they do with the M34A1, you still have that centerpiece, but then now you've got like the two wings that extend to the left and to the right. And they're here to protect, number one, the bow machine gun, or sorry, the coaxial machine gun. But also number two, you have the hole now for your gunner's telescopic sight. I guess I forgot to mention what the fuck this actually is. Sorry, this is the M4A2E4. This is a Sherman that was converted to use torsion bar suspension. This is a real project. This is something that the United States actually did. It did look roughly like this, but again, they've kitted out for, like, this looks like it's a service vehicle. Cool of them to include it in the game. And they also have the improved M4. Yes, this is also a real idea that the United States had. Again, this is where we get really caught up in this because it's like, did this exist? No. But was the idea there? Yes. Did they do some drawings of it? Yes. Pretty much as soon as the Sherman comes off the production line, the United States instantly starts looking at, okay, well, like, what can we do differently? What can we improve upon it? Because obviously, as you can see for this, armor was one of the big things that they thought about improving. Particularly, you've got now sloping on all sides, just like a T-34. There is an idea that, is this an American copy of the T-34? I think the idea has some merit, but I'm not gonna say yes or no like that I know for sure if that's the case. You got this really wacky angled turret. It would have used a totally new engine from what I know, not anything the Americans were building before, because this is designed right when there's still a lot of uncertainty in what the Sherman is going to look like in the future. So this is a sort of shooting for the fences kind of thing. Like, hey, well, what if we just like basically totally redesigned the tank? It was too much effort to solve issues that were ultimately not that big of a problem. For all the problems that this tank does solve, there are still problems like the small hatches, which are still on here. Crew members were injuring themselves getting in and out of these small hatches, and the protruding driver's hoods. This is the same version of HVSS that was used on the M6, if I'm not mistaken. And that suspension system had a ton of problems. So yeah, you've got a weird, messy version of HVSS. You've got the small hatches, you've still got direct vision ports, still don't have a telescopic front sight, still don't have a loader's hatch, still have the split hatch cupola. You still have the hull-mounted machine gun. For what few things this tank did do better than the original Shermans, it wasn't enough to warrant all of this, because there were still a lot of other things that it wasn't any better at, or in some ways worse at. This is weird. Jumbo with side skirts for some reason. I suppose there's no reason why you couldn't put side skirts on a Jumbo, but as far as I know, it was never done. And also, this turret is totally wrong. Totally, completely wrong. This is just a normal T-23 turret, when this is not true. The Jumbo had its own turret design. It looked a lot like, it was based upon the mold for the T-23 turret, but it was totally different, and especially had its own mantlets. This is the 76mm Sherman mantlet. The Jumbo had its own mantlet design, both for the 75 and 76mm gun versions. The way the Jumbo was done, you should be able to see on all Jumbos, on every single one, there should be a line that goes down the side of the Sherman. It's a little bit too subtle, to be honest. It was actually quite noticeable on Jumbos. You can always find it. If you go find a Jumbo in real life, or if you go investigate a Jumbo in any video game, there should be a line along the side of the hull to show you, because it wasn't just one giant plate, because that's heavy as fuck. Like, think about that from a factory perspective. This is a massive plate right here. So to help with the manufacturing process, they just made them they just separated it into two plates that were lighter, easier to handle, easier to use, and then welded them both on there and then joined them together in the middle. Every single Jumbo should have that scar for that. And then, yeah, totally new mantlets. And muzzle brake, I don't believe I've ever seen any Jumbos with muzzle brakes in real life. I'm sure if I find a photo, I'll put it up right now. But Jumbos, when I think of a 76 Jumbo, it does not have a muzzle brake. Mostly because all Jumbo 76mm tanks, they are all field mods. Only 254 Jumbos were ever made, and all of them were 75mm gun tanks. 76mm gun Jumbos do exist, and they're all field mods. They are all conversions that happen in the field. No Jumbos left the factory with 76s. That just never happened. Duckbill, track extensions, we would expect to see those, especially on a Jumbo, with all that extra weight. You put a 105 in here. That's also just not... There was never a 105mm Jumbo ever made. Those did not exist. There we go. That's it. This is now the correct turret. This looks a lot more like the Jumbo's turret, which is very good. It's got the correct mantlet, Jumbo's mantlet. And yeah, 76. So this is what a 76mm Jumbo should look like. This looks a lot better. And then we got pretty much the whole like T20 series. This is fucking weird. This T20 with a giant gun. What gun is this? Is this a 90? Like, Jesus Christ. It is a 90. What the hell? That's definitely not correct at all. T23. As we know, T23, this is the reason why the Sherman 76mm gun turret is called the T23 turret, is because it originated from this tank. The whole T20 series. T23 had this turret with a 76. This turret was built to hold the 76, so it worked. And then this tank would end up not working out for various reasons, and so they would push the turret over onto the Sherman and make the 76mm variants of the Sherman, and everyone was happy. And there were no problems with American tank history ever again. This is supposed to be an M26. It looks quite different, but mostly it's that mantlet cover is really throwing off the silhouette of this vehicle. It's got the longer gun. This is T26E4. This is the longer, bigger, more powerful 90mm cannon. Super Pershing used this gun. There was a pilot batch of a couple different T26s, from what I know, that were built using this cannon, and they were known as M26E4 or T26E4. There we go. That's more like it. So that's the proper cannon for the true in-service field model of the M26. Ah, there it is. T26E4 Super Pershing. Yep, so there's Super Pershing. Pretty awesome. The whole story of Super Pershing is it was part of the pilot batch. It was part of the Zebra program. Basically, the Pershing was in development hell, kind of. They were developing on it. They were working on it, and it was getting better. But Gladian Barnes, the guy who was in R&D, ordnance development at the time, he really loves the Pershing. It's his baby. There was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of back and forth going on about whether or not the Pershing was worth it, whether or not the Pershing was needed. Gladian Barnes, of course, it's his baby, so he's like, yes, yes, yes. But the Army is not so sure. The troops on the ground, the fact-finding missions out in Europe, there are still some things that the Sherman does better, namely with rate of fire, ammunition stowage, and roominess, general not being crampedness. But the Pershing was better in mobility. It had wider tracks, obviously, and better suspension system, all that stuff. And it could mount the 90. But again, there was the whole argument of, like, do we actually even need the 90? So Gladian Barnes gets us another idea of what if we just sent over a small batch of Pershings? Without the ordnance guys and without everyone agreeing that we want this tank, let's just send over a batch and have them essentially be tested on the field. A lot of engineers end up getting their hands on them, one of those gentlemen being Belton Cooper. who wrote the now infamous book, Death Traps, on how awful the Sherman was. I don't know how much better he thought, I mean, he thought American tanks in general were horribly outclassed, but anyways, Belton Cooper gets a hold of some of the Pershings in the Zebra program. They decided to up armor, so they took this mantlet plate right here, is taken from a Panther. It's straight up, it's armor cut out of a Panther. And then I don't recall if the front add-on armor is also specifically from a Panther. It may have been, but I'm not totally certain. And then these wings on the sides here are counterweights because adding this Panther's plate added so much weight to the front of the gun, which was already, I mean, as you can see, this gun is already super heavy on the front. This thing is already, looks to me like it would be super front heavy. So they just added even more weight to the front. Like, I can't imagine how awful this thing was. So the Pershing's giant bustle was not enough of a counterweight already, and the counterweight mounted to the giant bustle was also already not enough of a counterweight, so they added more counterweight in the fins. But I mean, it gives the Super Pershing this very iconic silhouette. And then also these pipes up top, a lot of people ask what these are. These are the springs for the elevation mechanism. Linkage, this connection point, so you can imagine as the gun elevates up and down, this linkage is sliding backwards and forth along these tubes, compressing those springs and then bringing them back again to keep the gun elevated and depressed. You know, this is very much not a combat thing. This was not supposed to be like a permanent combat solution. This was very much just something that they just drove around in circles at Aberdeen Proving Ground. And yeah, it's that combination of the bigger gun, the bigger, longer, more powerful gun, with the add-on armor. It creates this very mythical, ultimate, super Pershing. Anyway, yeah, now we get into Cold War American tanks, and now I am, what the fuck? Oh, Schwarzenegger. Oh, this is Arnold. Oh, this is cool. Arnold Schwarzenegger's, yeah, M47, tank that he drove in the Austrian army. That's cool. For those who don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger was a tanker in the Austrian army before he became bodybuilder and then eventually movie star. And yeah, he drove an M47. He loved this tank. And actually, he's told a funny story about, apparently, the way this all went down was that he obviously leaves Austria, goes to America, becomes a bodybuilding champion, becomes a movie star, and then becomes, for those who also don't know, becomes governor of California. And he has said he got to know a lot of, like, powerful people in the government. He went to them and he was like, hey, I used to be a tanker in the Austrian army, and I've just found out that my exact tank is still in the Austrian army's inventory. Can I have it back?
This was the very tank that I actually drove in the Austrian army. When I was 18 years old, I went in the Austrian army, and I became a tank driver. And then years and years later, decades later, I said to myself, well, now they don't need it anymore. It's a patent tank that America gave Austria after it became a neutral country after 1955, but then it became obsolete. So I asked the Austrian army if I can have it back, if I can have my tank that I drove exactly with that number. And the Pentagon and from the military and all those kind of things, which was easy to get for me because I was then the chairman of the President's Council on Fitness. I knew very well Dick Cheney and Colin Powell and those guys. They got me the permission, and the Austrian army sent me the tank. I had to pay $20,000.
Only you can get a tank!
Yeah, he basically used his government connections to go back to Austria and get his exact tank back, and he brought it back to America. And now does, you know, a whole bunch of like charity work and whatever with it. So pretty cool and heartwarming story, actually, in my opinion. Cool little connection for tanks. I don't recall him putting all this add-on armor and all this extra stuff on it. This all looks very, very crazy. From what I know, he just drove a normal Austrian M47. T-14, part of an American project with the British to build an assault tank. Jumbo and T-14 were like kind of two solutions to the same problem. And then when they looked at Jumbo versus T-14, they were like, yeah, no, T-14 sucks. Comparatively, Jumbo is better in every way, and it's built on the Sherman chassis, like we already know this. Whoa, the captured King Tiger, that's cool, although they don't have any of the, well, that's kind of weird. Why would you have the captured King Tiger as an option if you're not going to include any of the visual benefits of it? Yeah, so, I mean, this is a nod to a real thing that happened. American soldiers, American tankers captured a King Tiger and used it. To me, like, the cool thing about that is they, like, got, like, cloth with a star on it, and they draped it over the front, and draped it over the side of the turret, and like you know, they did the outside to be like, hey, look, this is an American tank, don't shoot us. This doesn't look anything like the real historical Tiger II that the United States captured. This is just a Tiger II painted gray with an American star on the side. That kind of makes me like upset. It's like, why would you even bother adding the captured King Tiger to an American tech tree if you're not going to honor, I mean, what it actually looked like, what it actually was. Very cool tank, the Hellcat. I got to see one in real life. Oh, this has the Jackson's turret on it, I'm assuming. Looks like you can put the 3-inch onto the M18, I don't believe that was ever truly an option on the vehicle. I think the M18 was made late enough in American tank destroyer history that they had gotten rid of the 3-inch by now, and they were using at the very least the 76mm M1. But I guess theoretically you could put a 3-inch into a Hellcat, but I don't know why you would. The models for the tank in this game look really good. Other than, like, you know, some, like, minor complaints that I can give you. Oh, hey, Germany! Hey, Germany! Yay, Krupp! Krupp representation. It looks like they got an anti-tank rifle in there. I have no clue if that's a thing they actually did. Probably not, though. It's safe to... Whoa. I think when it comes to a lot of these World of Tanks modifications, if you see something like this, it's safe to assume that it's a thing that theoretically may have been possible, but they probably didn't actually do. Germany is gonna have all, oh my, what the hell? Hey, the Panzer II D, yo, they actually did it. Nice, Panzer II Ausf D, yeah, it was very much real. They built these, put a new engine in it, and gave it torsion bar suspension. These would end up getting, all of these, they built very few of these, but all of these would end up being turned into Martyr II, the Martyr II Ds. 38T, my beloved. That gun looks a little bit weird. Yeah, it's just, everything just looks weird, because they just keep doing weird stuff. Although I will say, despite the cannon looking a little bit cursed, that is probably the best. This is probably one of the best models of the Panzer 38T I've ever seen. I love the 38T. I just love the angles on it so much. I love the shape of it. Everything about the 38T. I love this tank very, very much. Panzer II, Aus G, hey, yeah, they got this as well. This is cool, yeah. So you can see this is starting to resemble the L, the Luke's a little bit more. Again, guns, I would just ignore, on all these tanks, I would just ignore whatever's happening with the guns, because chances are it's wrong and weird. Toldi, hey, that's cool. Good Hungarian representation in the German tech tree, interestingly enough. I wish they would recognize, they would show you this a Hungarian tank. Like, it's still got the German flag behind it and everything. I wish they would tell you somewhere. Like people who play this game and don't know much about tank history would assume this is a German tank, but it's not. Toldi was a Hungarian tank. Yeah, here's the Panzer II-J. And yeah, this was the 80mm of frontal armor, which is fucking insane, but it's a like, this is literally, they literally stuck the vision ports of the Tiger on this thing for a tank that's hosting a 20mm autocannon, and is ultimately mostly relegated to reconnaissance duties, scouting duties. So why the hell you would slap 80mm of armor on this is just stupid. And this looks, what the actual dick and balls? No. I refuse to accept that they put the fucking Panther F turret on this motherfucker with a pig-nosed mantlet and a fucking toothbrush gun. Honestly, I don't care about history anymore. I am not accepting that. That didn't exist. I don't care what documents you show me. I don't care what you say. That's not real. I don't accept that into my life. There we go. Whew. I said it in my Hell Let Loose video, so I want to remain consistent, but yeah, only about 100 Panzer II Ls were ever actually built. And only about 22 Panzer II Js were ever actually built. But again, I can't even believe that the Panzer II J was actually built. I actually thought that this was a paper tank, but apparently they actually built these, which is crazy. I don't know. I don't even want to get into all these like German prototypes because I'm not a voice of authority on these. Although I may very well be a voice of authority on this. Panzer IV Ausf A. We're looking really good, actually. This looks very good. They got the correct vision port, the correct ball mount. Oh, they got this wrong. They got the viewports for the gunner and the commander incorrect. One of the big identifying traits of a Panzer IV Ausf A. Oh, and they got the cupola wrong. This barrel-shaped cupola does not look correct. Is that a change? Is that something I can do? It is. Oh, Panzer IV Ausf B turret. Wait, that doesn't make any sense, because the Panzer IV Ausf B also had a totally different hull. Wow, they got that way wrong. Ah, there we are. There's the Panzer IV Ausf A I know and love. Yes, see, these vision ports for the gunner and loader are like square flaps, whereas on the Ausf B and further into production, they change them to those like bubble shapes that they end up having. All right, good. With the proper turret fitted, this is a quite good rendition of a Panzer IV Ausf A. You can put the Panzer IV Ausf B's turret on here, but that doesn't make much sense because, first of all, the last 5 tanks of the Ausf A, and then indeed the entirety of the Ausf B, also had a totally different hull. So you can't just slap, I mean, you could theoretically just slap a Panzer IV Ausf B turret onto an Ausf A hull. Like, you could do that, but as far as I know, they didn't. Nice. Samo 35, love to see it. Panzer III looks good. Panzer IV Ausf D. Ew! What is this? Okay. Okay. Panzer IV Ausf Ds with the long 75 did exist. You can put an Aus C turret on here, which is interesting because it should be pretty much identical to an Aus B, but okay. On the Aus D, we can jump back to the turret of the Aus C. I'm surprised they won't let you jump forward into the turret of the Aus E with the current gun. Oh, what? You can put the long 75 into the Aus D turret, but you can't put it into the Aus C turret? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't sound right to me at all. Now we have a true Ausfrung D, very nice. Finally, we get the external gun mantlets, large tow hooks on the front. The row reels are good. And then, yeah, you can put the 50 on here. Whoa, that's way too small, though. That doesn't look right at all. Okay, I guess you have to get the other one. The Panzer IV D with the 50mm gun in it. This was a real thing that they did to test out mounting the 50mm gun into the Panzer IV. They decided not to go with this, and they decided instead to do the 75. Here's the thing. This is the early style 75mm gun with the globe muzzle brake, as people call it. People associate this muzzle brake and this version of the 75 with the Panzer IV F2. As I've explained in my guide to the Panzer IV video, F2 is not really a proper designation. F2 is not a proper military designation. It was a temporary factory designation while they were transitioning between the Aus F production run and the Aus G production run. Any Panzer IV Ausfrung Ds that would have been upgraded with the long 75mm cannon, and it did happen, but by the time that was happening, they had gotten the new muzzle brake design, and it was the later model of the 75. Also, when tanks like this, like an Ausfrung D, were sent back to the factory to be upgraded, they would have upgraded everything on them to be fitting of the new standards. So first of all, you would have had the new tow hooks on the back here. These are not here. The heavy-duty tow hooks on the front. The new sprocket, the sprocket model for the Ausfrung F and G. The new idler wheel, bracket for spare road wheels on the left side of the hull that was introduced in the Ausfrung G. And also in the one photo that I've seen, they also put Schützen on the tank. They equipped that Ausfrung D with Schützen. You would have had the later style muzzle brake, and you would have had all the other upgrades that would have come with a later model Panzer IV. Everything on it that could be brought up to standard would have been brought up to standard. So just slapping an early model 75 with the early muzzle brake into a Panzer IV Ausfrung D is not historically accurate. That would not have happened. However, could you theoretically do it? Yes. And the Panzer IV H, what the mother of God have they done to that gun? That is a fucking huge gun. This is not accurate. Please get me out of here. What is this? It's a 105. I don't know what idiot did that, but they should be fired probably. And you can downgrade the turret to the Aus G. Oh, well, I guess you would have started. I have a premium account. I've got the press account, so yeah, but this is the one that you would have started with. You would have started with the G and then got the H. Wait, but a G with, hold on. It doesn't replace the Schützen, so you always have Hull Schützen. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. We totally skipped over the E and the F, by the way, which are important in their own rights. This also is, this is a Schützen Series 2. You can tell because it's angled inwards on the hull slightly. So this is the later model of Schützen. Okay, yeah, so the Ausfrung H turret is missing the viewports on the side of the turret. That is accurate. Missing some roof stuff. They've just simplified to the one ventilator. Accurate. Oh yeah, I got rid of the the loader's direct vision optic. Although these two things would have technically been done at the very end towards the end of Ausfrung G production. But I mean, yeah, this is in this configuration. This is a correct Ausfrung H, correct sprocket and everything too. Command vehicle. I don't know why this is in the game because in real life this would not be functional. This was a command vehicle. The turret was a dummy turret. I mean, not a dummy turret in that it was fake, but like the turret didn't work. The turret couldn't traverse. Like you wouldn't have been able to use this in combat. I like this. I very much enjoy this. I never actually realized this. The sprocket, the wheels, the idler, like the running gear of the Panzer IV in Girls in Panzer was painted black. I didn't realize that, and then I went back and watched the show, and it's like, oh yeah, you're right. They did paint those black, which is interesting. I never realized that. Do I really need to introduce this tank? Panzer IV Hydrostat. This is real, and it's pretty cool. As far as I know, this was. I don't know if this was built and tested and tried, but this was a concept. I do know that they did legitimately think about this. The Germans. I don't know about this gun. This gun, once again, I think the gun is totally wrong. Never mind. There's actually no upgrades you can make to this. This is exactly as it would be. Interesting. Well, that gun looks really, 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 really big for being a 75. But they did think that this might actually be an idea worth doing. Panzer 58. Whoa, dude, the Swiss Panzers. Let's go. Once again, ignore whatever's going on with the cannons. I don't know. They do stupid things. Panzerjäger 1, my beloved. I absolutely adore this tank. I love it so much. And I don't know why. There's no reason for me to, but I do. I love this tank very, very much. What the hell, man? God, and they just stick the 105 in everything. You can't just do that. And this is just a Sturmgeschütz role-playing as a Jagdpanzer 470. Again, don't know what the fuck they're doing with the mantlet. This is a Ferdinand role-playing as a Jagdtiger. Why? This definitely did not exist. Soviets. That's cool as hell. BT-2. BT-2 had the machine guns, but yeah, I'm sure you can do that. 37-2. I mean, this is essentially just Walter J. Christie's original design, but with an actual functional gun and turret fitted to it. M3 Light. Hey, Soviets get Lend-Lease. Acknowledgement of Lend-Lease to the Soviet Union. Very important. Whoa, A-20. What the scallop? That's not correct at all. Yes, that is the A-20 I know and love. A-20, prototype of the T-34, the A-20, the A-32, and eventually the A-34. Although A-20 was actually just basically supposed to be a replacement for the BT, still had a convertible track-to-wheel drive system. And then A-20, they said, well, you know what? If we can make the A-32 and the A-34 do all the jobs of the BT and the T-26, then let's get rid of the A-20. And then they did. So A-20 was dropped. And then eventually even A-32 was dropped because A-34 was basically the same as A-32, but just with more armor. And so then A-34 was adopted as T-34. It's kind of a small tank. T-34 ended up being kind of a minor tank in the Soviet Union during World War II. You know, they didn't use very many of them. They weren't built in very large numbers. So it's kind of worth forgetting about, to be honest. T-34 with the L-11. Yes, the original production T-34s had the L-11. The L-11 gun in Soviet service had a lot of problems with the breech failed to return to battery oftentimes, and the gun was complicated and a bitch to maintain, to disassemble and maintain, especially inside the cramped turret. And in the notes, when they developed the T-34, in testing notes, the crampedness of the turret was continuously brought up. When the T-34 really goes into production, they want to switch to the F-32. F-32 production is down bad, so they wait, and then the F-34 becomes available, so then they just jump to the F-34, and when this T-34 actually ends up in mass production, it has the F-34. But, fun fact, they hated the L-11 gun so much that when the T-34 was going into production initially, and the F-34 gun and the F-32 gun was experiencing production issues, the Soviets wrote that they were willing to stick the old 45mm gun back into the T-34 for initial production. A-32, this is the one I discussed earlier, it was between A-32 and A-20 for the contract, and then A-34, this is not accurate at all. This is completely wrong. Oh no, this is T-34, I'm sorry. Can we put the other turret? Yeah, we've got the different turrets on here. Mod 1940. I'm going to guess that this is the turret I'm thinking of. Also, the 57. The Soviets would end up abandoning the 57mm gun for much the same reason the Americans did. 57mm being a smaller projectile, it could only go so far before its penetrative capabilities dropped off. The 57 did have better pen, but not better pen at longer ranges. And then when you compare to a 76mm gun, which has good enough penetration, and good penetration, and then good enough penetration at longer ranges, and also has a larger shell, so it has better capacity to hold high explosive material, and therefore be a better HE shell. The 76 was just a better all-purpose gun. The United States tank destroyer branch would like the 57 as a towed anti-tank gun because the 57 was a lot lighter than the 76. So in towed mount roles, the U.S. did like the 57 a decent bit, but overall they still considered it, on the whole, inferior to the 76. Wow, that is an affront to God. I think I'm allergic to that. Wow, that is ugly. My God, that is awful. Oh, I'm gonna have to take some heart medicine after looking at that. That's almost even fucking crazier. This is very cool and very true. Good representation of up-armored T-34s. This was done quite common. People talk about like shit armor quality for T-34s in the early war. Yes. But also, it was very common for crews and to put out on armor to make up for that issue. That is a really long gun for a T-34-85. Let me guess, this is some random 85mm. Yeah, this is some random variant of the 85 that I've never fucking heard of. You can put a 122. This would not work. No, that would not work. 122mm into the T-34-85. That is impossible. I'm not even going to spend the money to look at that, because there's no way. Also, yeah, 85, T-34, 85 extended. Incompatible gun. Oh, oh, you can't... Wait, so did they make up did they falsify an extended version of the 85mm turret just so that they could stick other guns into it? That's hilarious. Let's get this back to what we know and love, shall we? There we go. Much better. Otherwise, this looks really good. Everything else about it looks really nice. Awesome Lend-Lease Sherman. Love the administrative decals and everything. Very cool. The 50 on the back looks sick. I love that. The Ram Mark II, I find it quite interesting that this is in the American tech tree because this is a Canadian vehicle. There's no Canadian tech tree, is there? There is not a Canadian tech tree. There is, however... Poland, let's fucking go. Yes, they have... It's finally time. Oh no! Ew! No, 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 no! What is this? What is this? No, 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 no! I did the wrong thing! I did the wrong thing! No, 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 no! Mount that shit! Yeah! Yeah! Finally, dude! 7TP representation in a tank game. Fucking hell! This is the only game. This is the only tank game I've ever found that has actually represented the 7TP. The 10TP, yeah! I love the 10TP. The 14TP, yes, this was a concept vehicle. I do not believe it ever actually happened, but they had the idea. I don't know what this is, but it looks crazy. Oh my god. T-34-85. So yeah, now we get into what they really did. Pudel! Hey, I've got a model. Hey, I have. Pudel. Look, it's your virtual big brother. Yay, what do you think about that? Aw, I love you too. Obviously, German Panther tank captured during the Warsaw Uprising, if I'm not mistaken. Very epic. Please tell me they have. No, wait, they don't have? No. And we just moved right into Sweden, you Swedish bastards. We don't have, no Firefly. That's a huge missed opportunity, man. You gotta put a Firefly in the Polish tech tree. Or at least a Cromwell or something. Some British tank received a lot of equipment Lend-Lease from the British, and very famously, they used Fireflies, and very famously, they used composite Fireflies. My personal favorite tank of all time, Zemsta 2, is like one of my is probably my favorite like specific historical tank of all time. Zemsta 2 is fucking awesome. I can't believe that not only do they not have Zemsta 2 in this game, but they don't even have a Polish Firefly. That's crazy, man. All right, let's go to Britain. Wait, no way. They have the Stuart in the British tech tree, but they don't have any Shermans. They've got the Grant, which is very cool, by the way. Love the Grant. Oh, here we go, Sherman 3, the M4A2. With the 76, it's got a 76 on it, which is cool. Oh, cool, you can actually identify... Look, they got the weld pattern. Wait, what? That's the twin machine guns. Whoa, 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 what the fuck happened here? What memo did I not get? Hold on a minute. Also, you can put the 6-pounder into the Sherman. I don't believe the British ever did that. The British were desperate to swap out their 6-pounders in the Churchill for Sherman 75s, so I do not believe they would have had any need to do the opposite. Very sexy, by the way, the radio box, stowage box on the back of the... Actually, that's not a radio box, but still, the stowage box on the back of the Sherman's turret, very sexy, but these twin machine gun mounts are not accurate. These would not be on here on like a normal Sherman 3. Doesn't make any sense. Although we can, very cool detail on the weld pattern of the Sherman's front glacis. A lot of people don't realize, but yeah, the Sherman's front plate wasn't just like one giant plate that came across. As you can see, it was comprised of a bunch of different smaller plates all sort of welded, brought together, and you can actually tell which factory the Sherman came out of based on its configuration of these plates, because every factory did it a little bit differently. I will put a note in editing as to which configuration this is. Yeah, otherwise really cool. I mean, otherwise it's a good rendition of an early model M4A2. Here we are, Sherman Firefly. So yeah, this is a premium vehicle, I guess. Very weird that the Firefly is considered a premium vehicle. It was incredibly important to the British during World War II. I mean, the Firefly is an iconically British tank. I guess they have to make it premium because it's not really a British tank. It's an American tank modified by the British. But I don't know, man. Me personally, I consider the Firefly to be a British tank. Oh wow, it's got a huge shell dent in the side. That's cool. Also, yeah, you can tell. So this is on an M4A4. You can tell the gap between the road wheels. Back here looks like the M4A4 Sherman, which was all built by Chrysler. So actually, this sprocket is incorrect. this should have a Chrysler-style sprocket on it, and it doesn't. And the front plate, you can see the well pattern is different for this front plate because this is manufactured by Chrysler. Versus our Sherman 3, you can see the well pattern is totally different. And even the hatches are different, and they got this right too. Like, every factory had their own way of doing it. This tank obviously doesn't have direct vision anymore. They've got these extra periscopes right here, and then your hatch periscopes there. And then this earlier model has different rounded off small hatches with direct vision ports. Different factories just had slight ways of doing it. Also, yeah, they actually had the quick fix upgrade. So this style of hatch, you can see it's just got the hinge on it. On the M4A4, which is a bit of a later design, it's got this spring latch mechanism. So as you push up on this hatch, this spring is also pulling, and it's helping you pull and open that hatch. So it just makes this giant armored hatch easier to open. Centurion. Oh, Centurion. Ooh. So this is, it says Centurion Mark 1, but this is very much a Centurion, like, I don't know, man, like Mark 3. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, I love this tank so very much. The Centurion Mark 5-1, and it's the Royal Australian. Oh, I love this tank. I have a poster of this tank up on my wall. That's how much I love this model, this Mark of Centurion. It is so sexy, in my opinion. I just love it. That is a sexy, sexy tank. Oof. Ooh, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies just looking at it. All right, we need to actually play the game. How do I play? Let's start with the British. Let's actually start. Let's play with the British, and let's do a, exit. Well, I think that just about does it for this episode of Tank Enthusiast Reacts. I know I had said 3 hours of raw footage, but I had to make this somewhat watchable. If you couldn't get enough, though, there is an extended cut on the Patreon, and they got it earlier than you did. That's right, if you end up joining the Patreon at any tier level, you'll get early access to videos, and they will be slightly longer. And sometimes for my larger scale projects, I'll upload behind the scenes stuff over there as well. Otherwise, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. Leave a comment if there's anything I got wrong or anything you'd like to point out, some extra information that I can always learn from. And of course, leave in the comments which game you would like me to do a Tank Enthusiast Reacts episode on next. Keep your eyes out for more content coming down the pipeline to you. And as always, thanks for watching. Whew, thank God that's over. Man, I wonder when the day will come that I have to tell them how much I hate them. How much I truly hate every single one of them. I wonder how they'll handle that. God, I just hate tanks. I just think boats are so much cooler, honestly. Whew. Can't wait till I get this crap over with. Am I still recording?